Hello and welcome to this episode of Unbound. I'm Nicola Humber, author of Unbound and founder of the Unbound Press. And today I am so excited to be joined by the first ever author to sign with the Unbound Press way back in November last year, because we've just had the 1-year anniversary of the Unbound Press, and it's Erica Walther. So welcome, Erica.
Hello, glad to be here.
Me too. So Erica and I were both based in Rochester in New York, and we met last year, and I had no clue that Erica was a writer at the time. And we, started talking, and Erica, you were telling me about your blog that you used to have, and I was like, oh, she's a kindred soul. And then you told me that you were, you've been thinking about writing a book, and at the time I was just coming up to launch the Unbound Press, so it was perfect timing. And you've been working on your book Motherhood Meets Me for the past year, but I know really it's been in process for longer than that. So tell us, first of all, what made you decide to write a book? Is that something you've been thinking about for a long time? Or
Yeah, well, I guess I've always been a writer at heart from as a little girl on, but I didn't go to school for it or anything like that. And then I came into some difficult times in life, and I was blogging, which just kind of fell into that. And then from there, people, I guess, I found out I didn't know were reading the blog, which I guess is the point, but I really hadn't, publicized it or anything. And I just came to realize that maybe by writing and helping myself, I was actually helping other people. And it just kind of fell into place like that. And then fast forward many years, well, the whole time I thought maybe I'll make it into a book someday. And then a year after year after year, so 12 years later, no, I had been for a few years looking for options for self-publishing, and then you just fell into my lap. So it was just perfect timing. I felt really comfortable with Nicola, you, and just the idea of the Unbound Press and being part of something that was brand new. And so, it's been a really great year for me personally.
Yeah, fantastic. And you just kind of come to the end of writing your manuscript. We're just kind of getting that ready, and Motherhood Meets Me is going to be out early next year. We're just finalizing the date at the moment, but tell us a bit more about what the book's about, Erica.
The book is about my experience with becoming a mother. I was very young, 26, newly married, and we found out that we were experiencing infertility. And this was at a time, this was about the year 2004, and I was 26. So when I found this difficult news out, then I would go and do research, and the only thing that was out there was for kind of what you would expect older women, maybe 40 plus. But anyway, so the book is a memoir. It's a little bit more than a memoir, but it's a story about what we experienced when we found out we were infertile and all the things that entailed, and then ultimately becoming adoptive parents, and how we ended up doing that and how that worked, but all the emotions from A to Z, and the story of just being newlyweds, wanting to start a family, to a 10-year journey to have, the family that we always dreamed of, a complete family as far as in our eyes, and, everything in between.
Yeah. And when I kind of first heard about your story, it just feels like such a powerful story that you have to share. And I'm interested that you were kind of blogging around that, right? As you were going through it at the time. Obviously, with the book, you're kind of writing it with that hindsight, but you were right in it when you were blogging about it. And was that something you did to kind of support yourself through the process as well?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it was to comfort myself. Yeah. I mean, I was happy to find out that me being open and honest about everything we were going through it's not something I ever anticipated, but I was I was happy to know that my writing was helping other people. I mean, I think that's, as writers, I think that's always the goal in the end. I mean, just whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction or what, there's always something you're trying to say. And if people are listening, that's just a bonus.
Yeah.
But a few of the chapters of the book are actually written in real time. I did have to edit them for a past tense. The blog of it itself, I probably wrote hundreds of entries. A lot of it was just day-to-day things, a lot of, different kind of topics or feelings. But there were a few that were very poignant that I ended up using in the book. And then the rest of the book is the culmination of the entire experience, and then the hindsight, and then basically where I am today, and the resolution. So
yeah, absolutely. So obviously your book is very personal to you, and this is something that I really love about the books that are coming through the Unbound Press in different ways. They're sharing elements of the writer's story, and for you, there's a lot of your personal story in the book. It's a very powerful read. But how has it been for you to be sharing that, or kind of anticipate it going out into the world as a book?
It's not new to share. I mean, obviously I'm hoping it'll reach a wider audience than I'm used to, but I have been sharing my story it's over 12 years now. And, I think people probably sit back and wonder, how can you bear so much personal information? I don't tell everything. I think for me, it's a fine line between being really private about certain things and protecting privacy versus, really just being open and honest about the raw emotion that was, that happened. But all of the things that I learned because of it, it's not just, the book isn't just about being infertile.
Mm-hmm.
It's about grief.
Yeah.
It's about your life changing in a way that's out of your control and kind of hitting a brick wall and then having to reevaluate. And I think that through this story, people will be able to relate to it in different ways, which is also what I was hoping to accomplish, because, I learned a lot of life lessons very, early on in adulthood that, have served me well. And, someone who's younger, maybe under 30, experiencing this, or the other part of the book, and the reason why I was writing all along about this stuff, is to educate.
Yeah.
And it's not just for people who are personally going through it. It's for people who love someone who's going through it. And the fact of the matter is, there are, 1 in 8 couples in the US going through this. And that translates to thousands and thousands and thousands of people. But the residual effect is their parents, their sister, their best friend, who don't know how to help. And the goal is, read the book, pass the book along. Pass it to your sister, your mom, your mother-in-law, and say, this is how I feel, and I don't want to have to tell you, or I can't explain it to you, but here it is.
Yeah. And I think for anybody, the book, like you said, it's about grief. It's about like the expectations that we have of how our life will unfold, and when that doesn't happen, what do we do? And how do we operate in life when things aren't turning out as we expected, and how other people expect our lives to be turning out. So I think it's for anyone who's interested in any of those themes. I found it a really powerful read. I said to you, I read it, I was on a plane when I was reading. I'd been reading parts of what Erica had been sending throughout the year, and I read the whole manuscript on a plane, on a flight recently, and I had tears coming as I cried about 3 times reading it.
Yeah, it's kind of a tearjerker. I mean, there's some levity in it, and it's very real. It's an emotional story, and there's happy and there's a lot of really sad parts, but
Yeah.
that's life, right? It's all of it in between. And yeah, I mean, I think that the story can touch mostly anybody
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. And, you know, I think that that's really the message there, is a lot of what we experience, but a lot of what family entails is just the core of humankind. It's the core of being a human being. Family, love, legacy, you know, all that stuff. And this just happens to be one piece of how all of that fits together.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And some of the tears were kind of happy tears,
Yeah.
I think. So
Yeah, don't tell everybody it's a downer.
It's not a complete downer at all. It's very uplifting. I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression.
Right.
But, you know, we've spoken about this, like in before I was doing this, like helping people write books and running the Unbound Press. I had one of my initial areas of working when I left finance and retrained as a coach and a hypnotherapist was working with women around different issues. And one of those, a lot of women would come to me for help because they were experiencing infertility and maybe going through IVF and wanted to kind of support with that. And one of the things I noticed was it can be really isolating when someone's going through that. They don't know how to talk to their families. They're going into work and they don't want to be talking about it at work. And then other people are having babies, like in their offices, and just all of this stuff that can come up, and they don't feel able to share it. That was a big part of the work that I would do with them, was just, I was someone they could talk to who wasn't kind of connected to them. So I think your book's really important in that way, like helping people feel less isolated, less alone with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of going through infertility, is not feeling relatable to your peers, to your coworkers, to your family. And it can be hard to open up because you don't realize how many people are affected by it because everybody's quiet.
Yeah.
And having a neutral party, having a support group, whether it's online, and there's definitely local face-to-face groups, but something as an outlet to feel that you're understood. So at least reading an article. Now there's a lot more resources out there than when I was going through it. There's some movies and TV shows that at least talk about it. They're not always accurate, but it's getting better and better. But just to know that, wow, there's someone who looks like me, who's my age, who's, all sorts of different things, that, you just don't feel like some weird person, that everyone else is moving on with their life and you're kind of stuck. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important. And what was the writing process like for you, Erica? Because it is different. Writing a book is different to writing a blog, isn't it?
Yeah, I was very, I said to you, I said, well, I'm used to writing essays.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what blog posts are. And I've had articles published in local publications, and, they're small and they're contrite, they're to the point. And I was overwhelmed with coming up with enough material to, what is a book? I guess we all have these pictures of writing a book. Like, that seems very daunting and that's probably why I kind of kept putting it off. But yeah, so the best advice you gave me was just write as you think, and don't worry about it being in sequence, because that's kind of impossible. Yeah. Like, that's not how we really think anyways. When you think of an idea, it's not necessarily in the right order. And so I just got over that. It took me a little while. But that was the best piece of advice. Just when you think of something, start writing it. And then it really all kind of clicked and it started to come together, and it was much more enjoyable because it was less stressful thinking, how am I going to get all this together, But the best part was that when it clicked and it started to take shape, and I kind of looked at it as a real book, really, having the flow. And when I, started to really fine tune the content, and that was really rewarding for something for me personally, for having thought about this for 12 years. There's a lot more to it than just, getting it on paper. It's just a personal accomplishment that is kind of a relief.
Yeah.
In all honesty, it's just a relief to finally have something to show for all my years of writing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been writing this, it's not like you've got like a really spacious life. You've got a young family, you've got a career, and you've managed to write it. I mean, within a year is a really good amount of time to get a book.
I'm glad you think so. Yeah. I mean, I get that now. But it really was the last like 4 months is when, which is good because I had a personal goal, right? And it happened. But I think that most writers, you have to fit it in. Yeah. And that's part of the problem is, when are you inspired to write? Well, in between making dinner and going on appointments and raising children and dealing with family life. And so, you find time to do it, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be worth it for anybody who reads it, because it's a really powerful read, such an amazing story, and so beautifully written, Erica. It's like,
thank you.
It's just been such an honor to work with you throughout the process, and I'm so excited for it to be released. And it's available for pre-order now, isn't it?
Yes, very exciting. My good friend finished the website and it's up. It's just ericawalther.com. And I sold 8 books yesterday in the first day. Now, I'll really make it when someone I don't know buys. No, I appreciate all of my friends and family who are ordering it, and just the support, just knowing people care, that they want to help get the message across too. But yeah, I mean, it's just to think that people I don't know will possibly be buying it and reading it and talking about it. It's kind of a weird feeling to have it, but I am very excited about it. But you can pre-order the book, and there's also a spot you can sign up to be on the newsletter list when we have a few more details about some, events and signings and when the launch is and all that, which I'm sure will maybe come after the new year, however that works. But yeah, so buy the book. Tell your friends.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
It really is. It really is. And a really important book as well, because like I said, so many people experience this and feel alone. And like you said, so many people have other people in their lives who are experiencing it and don't understand exactly how it feels. So I think it's such an important book. Thank you so much, Erica. We put the link to the website below this video so people can go ahead and find out more and pre-order it. And like I said, Motherhood Meets Me will be out next year. We'll be confirming the date shortly, and look forward to see what magic your book makes once it's out in the world.
Well, thank you so much again for the opportunity. It's been fun, and I look forward to the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And more books from you.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah. Now that I got it. Hopefully
that's it now.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Erica, for taking the time today. And we'll see you again soon for another episode of Unbound. Bye.